Hello YouTube, this is Frugal and welcome to the Frooglesim news for today, Sunday, August 23rd, new sim edition. In this edition of the Frooglesim news, we are just going to look at brand new simulators, some of which you've probably never heard of. First up, DFS, or the Dovetail Flight Simulator. Now, Dovetail have been publicly saying that the new sim will be based on Microsoft flight technology. Now, opinions on that sim are mixed, but the indisputable facts are that it was a sim that failed, partly due to it being released as a DLC platform. You can only fly in somewhat arcadey modes, and in limited areas. You would need to buy DLC to open up other areas and, of course, other aircraft. That obviously led to some concerns about DFS being the same thing, so I quizzed a number of sources at Dovetail, and I actually got some answers. What we would really like to see, of course, is something based on Microsoft Flight Simulator, a sim that lets you fly anything, anywhere. My source confirmed to me that the messaging on Dovetail's press releases and website is actually a little confusing. DFS is a sim based on Microsoft's collective simulator properties, so a mix of flight simulator and flight. No firm release date has been set yet, but we are looking at 2016 from previous announcements. Stay tuned to this very channel. As soon as we have more information, you'll see it here. Next up, the Red Bull Air Race from Slightly Mad Studios. Now, Slightly Mad are the studio behind a number of races out there, most recently, of course, being Project Cars, which was developed under their own Kickstarter-like model called WMD. Slightly Mad Studios have announced that in 2016 they will be releasing a sim licensed on the Red Bull Air Race series. Now, for those that don't follow it, this is an international air racing series where pilots take turns to race through incredibly tricky courses, fighting, of course, to keep their aircraft under control. The series takes place all over the world and is an extreme demonstration of piloting skill. Not much information has been made available outside of the trailer that you are now watching, and there's a link to this full trailer in the show notes below. But from the visuals, it does look like the amazing visuals we had in Project Cars are at last going to make it into a flight simulator. Based on Project Cars, I also think it's fair to assume that the sim will have both realistic and game modes, letting you ramp up the flying difficulty as you see fit. Next up, Combat Air Patrol 2 on Kickstarter. This is a new sim being developed as a successor to the amazing, I think it was 15 years ago, maybe more, Air Combat. It's a PC-based sim that lets you fly a Harrier in a hypothetical combat scenario in the Straits of Hormuz. The sim will cover dogfighting and ground attack, as well as bringing in naval command aspects as well. Developers Sim155 are aiming for a geographically accurate map with amazing lighting and visuals, as you can see below, and full VR device support, including Oculus Rift and the HTC Vive. Now, Combat Air Patrol 2 is a Kickstarter, so they are looking for backers to move the project forward. Currently, they are at $3,600 raised out of a goal of $100,000, and the project will be funded and good to go at $70,000. They are aiming to release in the middle of next year. The sim looks completely phenomenal right now. Head on over to the Kickstarter page in the show notes below and back the project if this is a sim that you would like to see released. I would. I'm going to do just that. Backers, of course, get early access to the sim as well as numerous other rewards depending on the level of backing you make. Combat Air Patrol 2 is also being made available through Steam Greenlight. Now finally, Combat Helo. Back in the 80s and 90s, you couldn't turn sideways without bumping into some great combat helicopter sims. The Gunship series, for example, or Jane's Longbow, or AH-64, and so on. This is their natural successor. Combat Helo is being developed by Richard Hawley, and it is the first sim in a very long time to be based on the AH-64D Apache. It's being launched through Steam Greenlight, has a sim mode with full HOTAS support, as well as an arcade mode if you just want to grab an Xbox 360 controller and blow stuff up. It will be moddable. They have said there is no VR support going to be in it at this time, but it does have full track IR support. It is a full simulation. You can go from cold and dart accurately all the way to shutdown, and flight modeling in the sim is based on blade element theory, which is also used in X-Plane, which is currently, to be honest, the best Helo sim platform out there, but it's also mixed with HTR, which is Helicopter Total Realism, a helicopter physics system developed by Fred Nahr and actually available as an external module for FSX. Systems being modeled in the Apache include MTADS, PNVS, TSD, FCR, GPS, and the inertial guidance systems, as well as accurate flight instrumentation, and it also is going to include fully dynamic campaigns, something combat sims have been lacking in with the exception of Falcon. Head on over to the Combat Helo link in the show notes below to stay up to date on the project and to show your support. This has been a very long slog for Richard to develop, and we need to keep him going because it looks absolutely amazing. So that's it for this week's Frooglesim News, New Sim Edition. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you all very soon.